a big picture person. I listened to the pain of Hedrick last evening, in trying to be a human person in one's own skin, and the pain of slavery and the brutality that humans can do to other humans. And yet, we can't stay here. We have to turn around and move in a new direction. And that's a lot of what my work is about. How do we move in a new direction? Now, let me begin by saying I am not a closet Catholic, an out-and-out one. And yet, you and I, we read the scriptures, in that beautiful passage from, the psalmist. When I consider your heavens and the work of your fingers, the moon and the stars which you have set in place, what are we that you are mindful of us, human beings, that you care for us? What is and who is this God that we have built our lives and our worlds and our structures around? And, again, Reggie was pointing to this, and I think this is a deep part of the problem, that religion is not an innocent bystander in this planet in crisis. It is the main culprit. Our religions have got stuck in a particular mindset, and they're having a very difficult time ungluing themselves from these structures they have created. We are a planet in crisis. There's no doubt about it. Global warming is a reality, and it's getting warmer. Our weather patterns are shifting. We're beginning to see more and more the increased intensity of tornadoes, hurricanes, but more so the desertification, in other words, the intense drying out of the earth, which leads to the displacement of species, the melting of the glaciers. We will begin to see massive land shifts in the not too distant future. Florida might wind up in China, New Jersey in Siberia. So, no, I'm only kidding. I don't know where that's gonna happen. But we will see land shifts, right? And who's affected most? The poor, right? The poor, forced out from their lands because of, consumer patterns that have led to these intense weather patterns. We're a planet in crisis because we are a people in crisis. I think Dr. Williams' lecture this morning clearly points that out. There's something deeply, deeply disturbing about us. And, as you were talking about Nazism and whiteness and anti-Semitism, my best friends in PA are Jewish, and anti-Semitism is a reality today, in Philadelphia. And they told me that they fear sometimes going out. That's the kind of world we're still living in, where some people fear going outside because of what may happen. We can't stay here. But how did we get here? And I think, one of the things that, one of my new heroes is the philosopher, mathematician, Alfred North Whitehead, the father of process theology, or process philosophy, I should say. And in 1925, almost 100 years ago, he wrote a famous essay on science and religion, and he said, religion will not regain its old power. I'm not sure there was ever any old power about it, but until it can face change in the same spirit as does science. Its principles may be eternal, but the expressions of those principles require continual development. And that would be a key word here, development. And so we have not, 100 years later, we have not followed what Whitehead was calling us to. Basically, I know, I got this from the internet, okay, so. This is how a lot of people still think about God, right? He's a white elderly male, like the Wizard of Oz, overseeing all God's children. And then, of course, there are some special children and all that kind of stuff, right? And, of course, this is it's a comfort, people say, oh, no, that's not my God. Oh, kind of, But do you ever hear people talk about God? Listen to how people talk about God. Pretty much, it's the big guy in the sky. And then we have this problem. It's called women, right? Eve. So, the classic story. Now, to all my Lutheran friends here, God bless you, but the classic story of original sin. There was a beautiful garden that God created and placed Adam and Eve in, but, of course, women is made from the rib of man. So the true image of God is Adam, and women are the image of God. And of course, with incomplete intellects, as Aristotle would say, she's nice, but she really can't think well. Eve disobeyed. She thought she heard something, and she told Adam, hey, eat this, apple that was never mentioned in Scripture, of course. And they did, and then they both fell into sin, and we know how the story goes. Then death entered in, and sin and death have been part and parcel of the Christian story. And so, it's really the basis for our understanding of Jesus Christ. We fell into sin, God needed to save us. So we've been preoccupied with the four last pillars: death, judgment, heaven, and hell. I do this so that I can go to heaven. And I don't really want to do this because I don't want to go to hell. And so these are real places for a lot of people still, right? That there's a place called heaven and a place called hell, and we're in a place called earth. Well, that kind of thinking was really based on a medieval cosmology, a three-tiered universe. I thought I had a picture of that universe, but that's okay. You get the picture here in this hierarchy. Excuse me, the ladder here of ascent. I have to get my water. It's the dryness. Of course, actually, as I tell this story, I get all worked up, quite honestly. Now, I don't want to jump the gun here, but let's go back here to this ladder. You see, Reggie was talking about hierarchy. That is a truism. We have a built-in ladder of what we call being. The best being is on the top. That would be God. And then comes, the angels, and then comes humans, and then we meet white humans, and then other humans, and then it goes down the ladder. And this kind of thinking, actually, it has not always been this way. Prior to the beginning of the monotheistic faiths, which would be Christianity, Judaism, and Islam, we had pre-axial religions, which are what we call today primal spiritualities, indigenous spiritualities, the spirituality of community, of tribe. But with the emergence of consciousness, as we began to discover the universe and realize it has a third dimension to it, volume, the human person emerged in a more distinctive way. And so Greek philosophy became an important part of the emergence of the human person. Now, Greek philosophy is married to Christianity. They got married. It's been a long, long-term marriage. And I just want to say right here, that marriage was a bad marriage. They should have really gotten divorced a long time ago, but they didn't. And so I don't think Christianity has failed. I don't even think it's been born yet.